Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. That's better.
Wow.
Well, Paul started that.
That's sounding better every week now, Dan.
Paul started it, and I feel like I have to keep it going, you know? So we are back, and we are going to talk tonight about Miss Marvel, Episode 5, which I know I was definitely surprised by. You know, I kind of felt like, wait, did we just end the main plot line and still have an episode to go?
I think it really is all over with, and they haven't told us yet, and we're going to just all show up on Wednesday, and there's going to be nothing at all.
It's just going to be the family sitting around the table arguing.
Yeah. It's going to be a shawarma scene for, 40 minutes.
Okay, I'm good with that, actually.
Okay.
But before we get into that, of course, Thor: Love and Thunder opened this weekend. It hit another $143 million opening, so the 12th highest for the MCU. So they're doing fine.
Yeah, I would say they maybe they could afford to make another one. Yeah.
So I've been getting I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people talking about how they really liked Christian Bale. They thought the story was okay, but that there were too many jokes, that the story got derailed often for too many jokes. Now, I haven't seen it yet. You, sir, have. So, Mr. Beard, tell us, without going into spoilers, what you thought.
I enjoyed it. I remember I go into movies and I walk out and I say I enjoyed it or I didn't enjoy it, but I did enjoy it. There is an awful lot of humor, but my take on that is that we know what to expect at this point from a Thor movie and from a Taika Waititi movie, a Taika Waititi Thor movie. We know what to expect, and it's an awful lot of humor. Thor goes for quite a while into the movie without seeming like a very there's anything serious going on with him, but he he hits a point where he gets serious. It's kind of funny because at the core of the movie is something very serious, but that never ever feels like it's that the humor is that it's being made fun of or anything like that at all. It actually hit very close to home for me, and I was kind of glad I wasn't with anybody in the theater that day. It's exciting. I think that Christian Bale was very good in it. That the character is very interesting, and I think everybody else, in the whole movie comes off pretty well in it. It was really nice to catch up with everybody. And in some ways, I think that maybe that's what Marvel movies are these days. Is you basically catch up with all the characters. But I mean, it was pretty much what I expected. I still think I'm going to give the edge right now to Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
After all is said and done, I think that Ragnarok balanced everything better. Overall.
I'm hearing similar for a lot of people that they thought Ragnarok was the better of the two. Mm-hmm. See, I'm kind of funny. I liked Ragnarok, but to me, it's not a Thor movie to me. If you ask me my favorite Thor movie, it's the first one, the Kenneth Branagh. Mm-hmm. Because to me, that's the Walt Simonson epic Thor.
Gotcha.
Where what we're getting now is much more in the comedic, silly vein, similar to like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's over in that part of the Marvel Universe now.
Yeah. Now there's a kind of a disappointing note in that is that I don't think it's too spoilery. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy are not in this movie very much.
No, and I don't think they were supposed to be.
Yeah, I did see somebody online say that they thought that we were being told that they were in it more, that, or we got the impression, and I think I'm going to actually have to admit that I got the impression that they were in it more than they were. And when their part ends, you kind of think that, okay, maybe they're going to be back, that there's going to be
Yeah.
a moment where it's going to drag them back in, and they're not. So if people are looking for a big, Guardians of the Galaxy thing, that it's not this. It's nice to know again what the characters have been doing since we last saw them, and it's nice to know that Thor hung out with them, for a while. But the characters are, maybe they're a little wasted, that being in this movie, you know.
Well,
Um,
that doesn't surprise me because we got to keep in mind that when Endgame ended, things were lined up differently. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was supposed to be next. So it was James Gunn who said, yeah, let me have Thor for a little while.
mm-hmm.
And then the whole thing with the older post happened. He got fired. He went over and made Suicide Squad. Then they hired him back. So Guardians went from being the next thing we'd see Thor in,
Yeah,
to it flipping, and now Taika Waititi has to answer, well, what Thor was doing with the Guardians.
yeah.
So it all changed around, which is probably something he didn't really want to play with.
Well,
You
that's what I was about to say. There's a good chance that he may not have cared for that very much, and he does what he does with them. I mean, it's definitely not bad, and it's very much in character what goes on with them. But again, when you have a cast like that, and you have the limited amount of time in the movie that they have, you just don't get very much. Like
right,
Chris, it was funny because it was like you expect Chris Pratt to be very funny, and he doesn't really get anything funny to do. In fact, he's fairly normal in the film. There's a tiny little fun thing with Nebula. Um, there's a tiny little moment with Groot and Rocket together. Drax is barely in it. I don't think Mantis even has a line of dialogue, if I remember it correctly. And then it's pretty much over. So again, don't go into, if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't go into it expecting very much of anything other than you catch up with them a little bit, and then they're gone. I mean, it's Thor and Mighty Thor's movie.
what's funny is until you mentioned them just now, I forgot they were in it.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I've seen all the spoilers and, what the post credit scenes are and stuff like that. So for me, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an interesting thing about what you said about, this is not like your Thor. It has become the Thor of the MCU. This is what it is, and that it became this so that we could still have Thor in the MCU.
Yeah.
We've said it before. This is, Chris Hemsworth seems to be pretty happy. And I was thinking about this. He's still going to go on. I mean, I don't think it's a huge spoiler. At the very end of the movie, we get a title card that says Thor will return.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. You have the three lead characters of the MCU, and we've lost two of them, but the one seems to be hanging in there just fine. And he gets to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with it because again, he can bring the seriousness when he wants to. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing with Thor compared to like Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was being pushed into every movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's in Civil War. Oh, he's in Spider Man. He's popping up over here, over there, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see why he got burned out. Plus, he's older.
Yep. Yeah,
You know, when
careful though. He's my age. he's
well, when
he's
he got
almost exactly my age.
when he got the job as Iron Man in 2008, I think he said he was 40, and he said he had maybe 10 years to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and he went on longer than that by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So he did what he said he was going to do, and he popped up in a lot of films.
Yeah.
Chris Evans is younger, but he was hesitant to get into the Marvel Universe again after Fantastic Four anyway, and he's got other desires and stuff to do. Chris Hemsworth is like, I'm enjoying the hell out of this. I'm going to do it for it's like Wolverine, or Hugh Jackman. Yeah, I'll do it for a long time, and now he's like, okay, now I'm done.
Yeah, and he's in a position to probably demand whatever money that and get it because he's the old guard now.
Yep.
It's like, hey, you want Thor still around? Then fine, you pay me X amount of money. Since you're not paying Downey's meal ticket and Chris Evans's meal ticket anymore, you got money to burn. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and they've hit on something, and like I said, I prefer the more serious Thor. But that said, I enjoy Taika Waititi's movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if I had my preference, I would have a more serious Thor because I grew up on the Walt Simonson runs and and Balder the Brave and Surtur and more of that stuff. Yeah. It's more of a fantasy, and when Taika came on, he really did kind of take it and follow the James Gunn path. It's more cosmic, it's more silly, more guest stars, more fun, and
it's more anything goes.
Yeah, and it's working.
And that's very definitely this this movie too is anything goes.
Yeah, and I will take a Taika Waititi Thor over no Thor.
Yeah.
If those are my options, I'll go buy a ticket and go watch it. Like I said, I don't necessarily expect Marvel to do things a certain way. Moon Knight, when they showed the mummified costume, it's like, that's not the Moon Knight costume I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
But okay, let's see what they do with it. And I liked it.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel, we're going to get to her in a few minutes. Totally not the type of show I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about it is not the stuff I expected I'd like.
I was thinking about Moon Knight after I saw Thor Love and Thunder about how the Marvel movies have kind of become everything but the kitchen sink. And then you have something like Moon Knight thrown into the middle of that, and I guess that's meant to to give us a breather, because that was definitely, we've said it how many times now, no connections, hardly any connections whatsoever. No kitchen sink, no nothing. And then we go back to, we get Doctor Strange and Thor right in a row, and those are literally just like everything and several kitchen sinks.
Yep. Yeah. And then we find out that certain things got cut. Like Peter Dinklage had a cameo and he got cut. Was he going to be
about, there's an actress whose part was cut, and
Lena Headey from A Game of Thrones? Yeah.
And do we have any idea of who she was or what that was all about?
Nope. And we know Jeff Goldblum was supposed to be in it, and he got cut.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if Jeff Goldblum and Dinklage actually filmed anything. Is that? Do we know that?
We know they have because
Okay.
Christian Bale talks about having gotten to work with Dinklage and how much he enjoyed that he
Okay.
really likes Peter Dinklage.
Okay.
And we know Jeff Goldblum was down there during filming because there
Okay.
was footage of him and Russell Crowe, Waititi, and Hemsworth all hanging out at a cricket game or something.
Uh, okay. I can kind of see where the Grandmaster might have fit in now. I don't know about Peter Dinklage's character, where that would have.
Yeah, I mean, he was the big troll, the giant
Yeah.
troll.
Yeah. Um, huh. But you know what? If the Grandmaster was supposedly in the scene that I'm thinking of, he cutting him is not, yeah, wouldn't have made much of a difference. I mean, he would have been kind of shoehorned into that scene if that's where he was supposed to be in
Yeah,
the film. Yeah, I kind of, agree with that. There's some very nice cameos for the most part from other characters that fit much better into the movie, and basically from the Thor universe,
yeah,
uh, that work very, very well. They don't need to be in it for very long, but it's nice to check in with them.
yeah. I know we get one in the one of the two post credit scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one is a new character we get. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's interesting, and I think the new character may end up being really interesting, depending on how they use him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that more. I'm hoping to get over and see the movie this week, and
Okay.
I want to give everybody at least another week to go see it before we start talking spoilers on it.
Okay. So two credit scenes, one of which is the one that you're referring to, and then the final one is basically a coda to the movie itself, and
Yeah,
it's very interesting, but I don't think it'll mean anything. I think it's literally there to just
it
tie things up.
might because the character who is wrapped up in the final scene
Hmm.
he does that in the comics too, and then transitions to
Uh,
another character,
okay. Okay.
comes back through that
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
So that
Hmm.
might be what they're setting up if that
Okay.
character, if that actor wants to return anymore.
That's what I would be surprised if they would, but who knows? Other crazier things have happened.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's pretty interesting what they've done with it. And like I said, the reaction's been interesting. The cinema scores and stuff like that have been decent, but not great.
Hmm.
They've been on par with, say, Doctor Strange and the Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been up there like with Shang-Chi and Spider Man.
Hmm.
Shang-Chi and Spider Man got like cinema scores of A plus, where
Hmm.
this got a B plus, Doctor Strange got a B plus, and Eternals got a B.
Hmm.
So a lot of people are wondering how that's going to translate to the box office because Spider Man and Shang-Chi both more than tripled their opening weekend,
Right.
with Spider
Right.
Man doing an insane amount,
Yeah.
where Doctor Strange just over double. So it's only at like 400 million now for domestic.
But see, both those movies had an element in it which I could see driving that, where Thor: Love and Thunder doesn't. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say. Thor: Love and Thunder is not a multiverse picture. It's not
Right. It's more of a
part
multi
of
realm.
the multiverse saga or whatever you want to call it. And those aspects in Spider-Man and in Doctor Strange are going to excite people much more than Thor was. Thor is not meant to be you know like that, I guess. So if people are going to be let down by that, then I don't know what to say.
Well, I'm kind of curious because when Spider Man came out, there was a long period that it had the theater to itself, basically. And then
Mhm.
Morbius came out and nobody really noticed. But then Doctor Strange came out, and Doctor Strange was kind of running the roost for a little while, and then Top Gun came out, and everybody was flocking to Top Gun.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that thing did just phenomenal numbers. And
Mhm.
then shortly after they announced, oh, well, Doctor Strange is going to go to Disney Plus for within like 6 weeks of release, which is pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so.
45-day window, which normally it's, I mean, yeah, they've cut it down to allow that, but normally you do that with something like the Eternals that's not doing that great.
Mhm.
You think they would have let Doctor Strange stand. I mean, it's still technically in theaters too, making a couple 100,000
Right.
over the weekend.
And we should note here that there's also the new episode of Marvel Studios Assembled for the making of Doctor Strange came
Yep.
out, which is good. I really enjoy those shows, but very disappointing to me personally when it comes to when it started to talk about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Because it starts off with going through the characters and then just totally skips two of the characters and ends up on the end one, and I mean completely goes past so it
That it kind of makes sense though, because the two that I believe they skipped
mhm.
were the two they did at the last minute and
Yeah,
filmed in their homes.
yeah, so maybe that's sort of I don't know if embarrassing is the right word. It would have I assume it's because it would have made for an awkward moment or two in this making of show, that maybe it wasn't very glamorous or anything to talk about. It's just really really weird, because and it's just it's the way it's worded. They're talking about well, I think everybody's seen it by now, right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're far enough out.
Okay. It talks about Captain Carter, and then it talks about Captain Marvel. And then literally it goes, I can't remember how it's worded. It's almost funny. It's like, and then the biggest, surprise of all, and they start talking about Professor X or something like that. It was like, wait, you skipped a couple there, and acting like the be all and end all of that entire sequence of the movie is Professor X.
Well, a little bit it is, because he's the one from the Fox universe. He's the one
Yeah,
that connects to the other movies.
yeah.
You know, John Krasinski was fan casting.
I know. I still
Yeah.
think that's the big one to me, that most people wanted to it's something of the Fantastic Four. I
Yeah.
know. It's like it's just funny to I wish they would have touched upon it, but they don't even mention the name. They act like those characters are not in the movie. That's how this
Well,
whole
well, it was also because he was the absolute last minute one,
hmm
because it was supposed to be, from what I understand, Daniel Craig as Balder the Brave,
hmm
and that got cut out in the last minute. So if they're doing stuff that they talked about during filming,
yeah.
none of that happened during filming. They added him quite a bit later.
Okay, I see what you're saying, that they're like making this making of, and it's not even there to talk about.
Yeah,
hmm
and then to me, the biggest surprise would have been Anson Mount, because the Inhumans was so hated.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, that would be like Finn Jones popping up and people going, "Wait, why?"
It's just me then, because even so, all of that, it would have been utterly fascinating to me. A last minute thing,
Yeah,
scrambling around with like designers and designing costumes and juggling this or that, the contacting of the actors and the arranging of how they're going to do it and everything. To me, that's fascinating. But I guess I can see where that's too much of a peek behind the curtain
yeah.
for Marvel Studios to allow, because that's almost like saying, like we didn't know what we were doing, or we I don't know, we could have done that better or
Yeah.
something like that. It must, again, it was to them, there was no good way of talking about that, even sticking something in this making of at the very last minute, just like those guys were filmed at last. But I hope someday there's some, in a book
I still think there's going to be a third volume to the story of the Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Because we've got the first two volumes.
To hear more about how that all came together and the decision making process. And you know what? I know, and it's also that they don't really want to reveal every single time of the way they make decisions.
Right, but they do in that book that both of us have read.
Yeah, I get that. Although there's some dancing around in that book. It's an official publication. They don't they don't really go out of their way to make anything part of it look bad or that they it's not warts and all. I think there was one thing in it that surprised me. It was every time they interviewed Evangeline Lilly, she seemed almost negative toward, like, I didn't really want to do any of this, But that was the only thing that kind of surprised me in that book about being a little more on the negative side.
I thought it was funny that Michael Waldron, who wrote Doctor Strange, said the original Illuminati scene had the Wasp in it, and she's the first one taken out. I think Wanda just kind of smushes her or steps on her or something.
I haven't heard that at all.
Yeah, it's in one of his
We need this footage, damn it.
They didn't even get the footage on that one. That was the original script.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and then Balder the Brave. And Balder would have been an odd choice.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that would have been a waste of Daniel Craig, too.
Yeah.
I mean, so what? Balder the Brave,
Daniel Craig did a cameo as a stormtrooper in one of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
I think
that's in Force Awakens. Yeah,
I think
did he actually film anything as Balder?
No, it didn't work out timing wise.
Okay, so we don't know. We don't think they actually filmed anything with a character that we did not see. Okay,
no, that's why I think both Black Bolt and Mr. Fantastic were green screen add-ins.
Okay. Well, they did a good job. I wouldn't have known.
But I think that's also why some of what they did was limited.
Right, right.
Where if they had them on set, they probably could have done more action. They might have lasted longer.
Right.
But, yeah, that's the scene I've got a hard time getting myself to sit down and watching. Because I'm not a fan of horror, especially like body horror.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that clip so many times of Black Bolt and stuff, and it's like, do I really want to watch that?
Now that I think of it, the second time I saw it, it was a little hard. It was a little rough to look at. Yeah, it's pretty horrifying.
So that's why I haven't had. I mean, first was coming home from the hospital, and worrying about that. But now it's like, all right, I got to watch it, but I just haven't yet,
Sure.
But I will. So,
okay.
Probably this week. And I'm going to try to get over and see Thor.
Mm-hmm.
But we should probably get to Ms. Marvel.
The final episode of Ms. Marvel.
Sort of, yes. I think it was on the show last week, or maybe it was one of my other shows, that I said I didn't think they would spend that much time in the past. That they would kind of do what they had to do and then get back to modern day because there's so much to deal with. And my God, I was wrong.
Yeah, you did say that here, yes.
Yeah, I was not even in the ballpark. Almost the whole episode takes place in the past.
Yeah.
But it was a good episode. I liked it.
Yeah.
I love the story.
Yeah, it's just again, it's just a little weird because you feel that a fair amount of things are wrapped up.
Yeah,
Well, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Last Jedi. It's the middle film of the trilogy, and I remember when it was over, I said, "Oh, well, that could have kind of been just the last one, right
yeah,
there. They kind of wrapped up so many different things there."
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're kind of in that Empire point where it's like, well, we had the showdown with Darth Vader. All we've got left is, well, we need to get Han back, but we don't know about the other Death Star. We don't know what the Emperor's doing. We're kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yep.
got off the ship, everybody out but Han. We go get Han from Jabba. That's all we got. All we got left now is to see if Bruno and Kamran are okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was an interesting abrupt ending of there. Yeah, it's so weird. Like we haven't even seen her in costume yet. I mean, she's got a lot of parts to it, so I'm assuming that it all comes together.
I think
Like,
her mom's gonna make.
or doesn't it? Maybe it's like at the very end of the episode.
I think her mom's gonna make the costume,
I think so. I think so too.
and they
So
got all the pieces now.
who is the bad guy who's the bad guy of this thing in the last episode?
I have a guess.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's two things. One is we started with damage control being kind of the bad guy. Then
Yeah,
we went
sure.
to the clandestine. Well,
Mhm.
the clandestine are done, or are they?
I, 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 you would think, right?
The about face of Najima, the head of the clandestine, was really abrupt,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of get the feeling that she might be part of Cameron now.
Yes, I could see that, which will be kind of weird. I would want more than just a single episode to kind of explore that idea
Yeah,
if that's the case. Again, that's not what happened in the comics, I'm assuming. I know that he gets powers or he has powers.
but he gets his powers the same way Kamala does through uh,
The
Kamala,
Terrigen.
excuse me, through Terrigen Mist.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I have to admit this. I feel bad because I have to stop and remember how to pronounce Kamala Khan
Yeah, I
because
have
if
to.
he
I have
pronounces
to.
it Kamala and our vice president is Kamala,
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, Kamala Khan.
Right. I do the same thing.
And they're spelled the same. So, yeah. And I want to be respectful. So I do have to stop and go, okay.
No problem. We'll both work on that.
Yeah. But Kamala and Cameron both get their powers through Terrigen Mist, which we get that weird look when they go up against the portal that almost look like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version of the Terrigen Mist.
Right.
Except for when they broke out, they were skeletons and died.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, in this show, they're both Jin or descended from Jin, so I guess it's the
but
same
but are they
idea.
in? Because the line in the episode before from Waleed, who says if Thor had landed in whatever mountains, he would have been called a Jinn too.
Yeah.
So I think that they're aliens or other dimensional beings. So I still think there's a Kree connection that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, see, there's that whole thing too. It's here we're at that same point. It's like I have no idea what the hell or what they could do with this last one, other than she needs to be in costume.
Yeah, and I think she will. I think we've seen clips of her in the costume.
Yeah, no, there is. It exists. That's very funny because at the beginning of Thor with the Marvel Studios logo and you get the little shots of clips in the letters of all the different projects. Now she is in there in costume. So
Cool.
that, that's really, and I remember seeing that and going, wait, we don't even have her in costume in the show yet, and she's already as Ms. Marvel in the Marvel Studios logo beginning thing.
Yeah. It's funny how they treat costumes. In some shows, you get them early, like Moon Knight. End of episode 1. Boom, we got a costume.
Yeah.
And in stuff like this, it's like, wait until the last episode.
Yeah.
Daredevil, it took to the last episode.
Yes, it did.
First season.
Yeah.
And then the third season, I don't think he even gets to wear his costume. Bullseye wears it most of the time.
I'm trying to remember. Yes. I believe that's right. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a little strange just how they treat costumes, or some characters don't even have a costume.
Well, it makes me wonder if they're going to have her be able to maintain a secret identity. I mean, she looks like Kamala with a with a mask on. I mean, she's not even doing her hair differently or have a hood up or anything like that at all. I mean, so her mother knows now, which I think I saw that coming. That I mean, whether or not that means they're going to tell her father, or is it just going to be a secret among the girls?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think they'll tell her brother.
I wouldn't. He's kind of a jerk sometimes, so I wouldn't tell him. No, he doesn't need to know.
I got to admit that when we got to that point in the episode, that the mother and the grandmother walked in, and how they reacted, and how the mom almost seemed excited by it.
Yeah.
That was so much fun for me.
Yeah.
Just and how they all kind of connected. And I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, that didn't make sense. Why did the mom get excited and stuff?" And I'm like, and my thinking is, she grew up thinking that her mother was crazy, that all of these stories about her grandmother were made up and people hated. And now she finds out that all of it is true. All of these amazing stories that she thought was, well, my mom is crazy and my grandmother was horrible. Now it's like, no, this is awesome. I mean, just.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, it's like, if you have an uncle that tells you, yes, I work in the CIA, and everybody's like, he doesn't work in the CIA. And then one day you find out he really worked in the CIA. Yeah.
And then in the middle of all that, she wants to know who the boy is.
Yes.
Mom,
I love that. I love the final scene with the three of them talking and connecting. And I love the fact that they're keeping the Bon Jovi thing going. Yeah, I think we need one more Bon Jovi song though in this. We got Living on a Prayer. We need one more. Like It's My Life would be the good one to have in a fighting scene at the end.
Well, you have one more episode left. Who knows? You might get your wish there, Dan.
Yeah, or Bon Jovi in concert. That would be the other way to go.
Or just, I mean, Bon Jovi himself as a cameo, and the mother finally gets to meet him for, I who knows how that might.
Like she ends up rescuing him by accident, and she goes, "Hang on a second," and brings mom over. That would be awesome.
I think we have this final episode all wrapped up. Yep,
I do. Yeah. But I mean, we thought it was going to be
very disappointed. My expectations are high now that we're going to get a Bon Jovi cameo.
And Bon Jovi ends up being Mephisto. I mean, he has acted.
Yeah. Yes. I think what happens is that at the very end, Brie Larson swoops in, carrying John Bon Jovi, and they land there, and she says, hey, I heard your mom wanted to meet Bon Jovi. That's what it is. These things.
It's got to be one step further. Her dad has to be there too, and he has to fate.
Okay. These things write themselves.
They do. They absolutely do.
They really, really do. It's got to be that. It can't be anything else whatsoever.
I've missed her dad not being in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I'm kind of surprised I'm saying that, but yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that surprised me about the show is how much I normally the family stuff I just want to skip past.
Yeah.
But I have found these characters to be so interesting.
Yeah.
And all the supporting characters. Aisha, Hassan, her husband in there, Waleed, they're getting these great Pakistani or Muslim actors to come in. And I mean, that we don't get to see in a lot of American cinema, but they're huge in Bollywood films and stuff like that.
That's what I've been hearing. That time after time, all of these, like the grandmother Nani, and they're all very well established and very popular actors in their own respective cinema worlds, and the caliber of it, I guess, is just really something.
Oh yeah, they're killing it, and there's so. And this is not getting the viewership like the other shows, and that's a shame because this might be one of the better series. Just from start to finish, the musical choices are so inspired. The areas of history that they're covering. I knew nothing about the partition when this started, or how badly the British screwed over everybody in India and the Muslims and everything that happened. And, but even some of the cultural stuff that we're learning, or when they're breaking down all the different groups at the one party in the beginning, all of that stuff was fascinating, which again was not what I thought would be what drew me to the series. But that's the stuff I've been enjoying the most.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I hope that we get some more of that in the final episode. I could almost see it maybe getting lost if it's going to be a lot of action with her as Ms. Marvel. But I hope that they don't jettison that altogether, and that we still get it. I mean, it'd be nice, to have the priest back in it, and his reaction. They really need to get the reaction of the community to Ms. Marvel herself. And will they realize that that's Nightlight?
Well, they have had so many good characters in this that it's almost like too many good characters, because like we had Nakia, who we never saw in the first episode, but was around for 2 episodes and was great.
Yeah.
And then she's gone for the next 2.
Yeah, that's a whole thread right there that I thought about after the end of episode 5, is like, can they pick that up and still make it, feel like something? She was left feeling betrayed in a way, and how are they going to pick that up?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many little threads left. There's Nakia. There's how her brother's going to feel about her pulling the fire alarm. And is her mom going to step in and defend her at this point now she knows the truth? How is her dad going to feel about all this?
Yeah. Bruno is a huge, thread here.
Yeah, Bruno and Cameron, and the fact that the store got blown up.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I know what I wanted to ask you. So, is Cameron being truthful when he says that he really didn't know that Bruno's name was Bruno? Or was that an act?
I think it was true.
Yeah, forget everything else. This is the burning question right now.
Yeah. I think that was true for the simple fact that, A, you don't often meet people named Bruno.
Yeah, really.
And if you looked at that kid and you said, is his name Brian or Bruno? You're going to look at him and go, that's Brian.
Yeah.
He looks like a Brian.
Oh my God, your name is not Brian. I've been calling you Brian.
Yeah.
So that was a funny bit there.
Yeah. So I like how he was trying to make small talk, like, oh, you like the car? Oh yeah, argon is my favorite gas. What?
Yeah.
Element. Like, So stick with trying to,
Tesla, yeah.
stick to trying to seduce Kamala. You're better at that. You're not going to get anywhere with Bruno. The skill sets aren't the same.
Yeah, we have a whole, love triangle there to resolve or not resolve,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so there's a bunch of little things to wrap up. Also, did they deal with the kid who was stealing shoes? I realize he's the kid that fell out of the window.
That's done. Come on. That's so
they punish him. Did Nakia get her shoes back? Because he was wearing her shoes when he fell.
I don't personally feel that they need to keep going on about the kid and the shoes, but mileage may vary on that one.
It could be a throwaway line when she finally meets up with Nakia again. She looks down and she goes, "Oh, you got your shoes back." She's like, "Yeah, that was the first thing I did as a board member was catch the little guy."
No, I feel like it's going to be a showdown with damage control. I was thinking about this. What exactly does damage control want? With why, like, and what is their aim? To capture her and then do what? Why do they need to capture her or whatever the hell they want to do with her?
Do you want theory? Because I got theory.
Okay, I want theories because it seems it's very outrageous and it's supposed to be outrageous, I guess, because they're coming off as the bad guys, even though they're a government agency. But yeah, I want to hear it.
I think that particular agent, the male agent that we also had in Spider-Man No Way Home, is a Skrull.
Okay.
He's put in the damage control to try to sniff out Kree sleeper cells.
Oh.
And he sees that power and he thinks that might be a Kree power, which is why he's going so hard and fast on this. Wow. And I think that, and I get that idea because he's known some things that he shouldn't know. Like in Spider-Man No Way Home, he knew Nick Fury was off planet.
Okay.
The whole time during Spider-Man Far From Home, where Talos was pretending to be Fury. So he shouldn't have known that. Just a person on damage control shouldn't know what Nick Fury's doing.
Yeah.
So I get the feeling he's a Skrull and he's looking for Kree, and I think her power source is Kree related. And I think that's how, if we get a Miss Marvel or or Monica Rambeau connection, that'll be the reason.
Is that too huge of a thing to have in a single episode? Because even though you feel that there's been this setup, but that's in other projects, that's in other films or whatever, is that too big of a thing to open up and use in a final episode of this? And I'm not personally saying it is. I'm just wondering what you think of that.
I would normally say yes, but because this specifically goes into the Marvels, I think we might get a cliffhanger on the 6th episode. Because not only is Iman Vellani in the Marvels, the mom, the dad, and the brother are as well.
Okay.
So maybe they take the whole family into custody, in something like that, and that's how Brie Larson gets involved. Or if there is a cameo, there might not be a cameo, but there might be, basically this may roll right into the Marvels, as in, will to be continued in the Marvels.
Right. Marvels is next year.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and things usually happen in real time in the Marvel universe. So we have a little ways to wait for that. I can see some setup I don't know how I feel about like a cliffhanger, like you say, but I can definitely, see some setup going on. I could almost see like at the very very end that we get a scene with like maybe the damage control guys or whatever, and that Kamala is not in the scene, but they're talking about her and saying we are definitely keeping an eye on this one, and then
Yeah.
maybe the scroll reveal,
Well,
something like that.
yeah.
That would be a a cool last scene, because
Yeah.
again, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to build myself up for some cameo by either Monica or Carol that we're probably not going to get.
Right.
I don't want to be that fan with having those expectations and then saying, "Oh, I'm so disappointed." We were practically promised a cameo by Brie Larson.
Well, okay. What about this? What about this as a potential ending? They wrap everything up. They deal with damage control,
Yeah.
and then we see like back at damage control station or whatever that particular officer monitoring the family, and either Brie Larson or Tiana Paris walks in. He shifts to being a scroll, and he's like, "We think this is a Kree sleeper cell.
Hmm.
We need to keep an eye on them."
Here's an idea for a cameo. Forget those other ones.
Bon Jovi.
Nick Fury.
Fury would be another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that we literally we have Samuel L. Jackson at the end, because we have Silent Invasion coming up too at some point.
Yeah. But I think Secret Invasion's already got a huge cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're going to bring in any of these characters. I mean, they just said the other day that War Machine and Everett K. Ross are going to appear in the show too.
Oh, wow.
So
Rhodey gets his own show, plus he gets to be in that one too. Wow.
Yep. So that cast is getting huge. And then you throw in Olivia Colman and Christopher McDonald and Amelia Clark.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a pretty big cast already. Colby Smulders, Ben Mendelsohn, and Samuel L. Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, yeah, I don't think they're going to get a lot of cameos in that one. Or it might just be a cameo fest.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Right.
There doesn't seem to be a differentiation anymore between the movies and the TV shows.
No.
Anything is possible.
No. And Kevin Feige pretty much said that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these things are like big, longer movies that they just break up in parts. That the production values are pretty much the same, and the connective tissue is very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, Lisa likes to call these commercials for the movies.
Yeah, right. I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
in some ways they are, but I think if they didn't feel cinematic, that analogy would work even better. But again, they're almost more like just slightly smaller movies, or even, and I'm not talking about length, but they're a little more grounded, in that sense. Yeah, it's like we're just getting movies in a different format.
Yeah, I mean, because you think about it, they do like roughly 40-minute segments, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. You're doing 6 of them, so you're looking at what 3, 1, 2, 3, about what 4-hour movies.
Yep. I usually say it's or maybe it's the equivalent of 2 feature films. Back to back, something like that.
Yeah, but you're doing the stuff that would take too long in a standard film.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're trying to make the movies shorter. Because you look at both Doctor Strange and Thor, they had a bunch of stuff on the cutting room floor to get the movies down smaller.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that's okay. That, maybe save that longer running time for the bigger wrap up films, the end games
Yeah.
or whatever. Just, save that running time. And you keep doing that, and then everybody expects that too. And
Yeah.
we all know how that goes too with expectations.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Batman movie, and it just let everybody who saw the new Batman movie say the same thing. Oh, it was, I enjoyed it, but it could have been shorter.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Normally I ask them, going, what part would you cut? And they go, it could have been shorter.
You know what? On a somewhat related note, I just saw that supposedly somebody took all of Obi-Wan Kenobi and edited it into like a 2.5-hour movie, and that really made me wonder, like, okay, what did they cut?
They cut, from what I understand, they cut the opening with the Order 66 massacre so that you didn't get the idea right away that Reva was one of the younglings.
Okay.
They reordered the way we met the Jedi on Tatooine, the one that gets killed.
Okay.
He runs into Kenobi first. Kenobi tells him to get rid of his lightsaber, run and hide. Then he meets the Inquisitors and killed. So there isn't that awkward getting away scene.
Oh, okay.
And there was another, the whole chase scene with Leia with the guy. That
yeah, sure, okay.
And then one of the things he added was a voiceover from another movie of Qui-Gon going, he is the chosen one. He will bring balance to the Force. And he says it at the point that Kenobi is looking at Vader where he could kill him because he's already beaten him. And instead he turns and leaves.
Oh.
Because Qui-Gon's like, either he's remembering what was said and he thinks he could still maybe bring balance to the Force.
Okay.
So, and I know a couple people who have actually watched it. You can find it online.
Mm-hmm.
And they all said it becomes much, much better. That it really is an excellent thing. And it just becomes a movie, So,
okay.
I hope they cut the trench coat scene.
I knew you were going to say that. Embrace the trench coat, Dan.
I saw a thing today. That said, America is no longer a country. It's just 3 corporations in a trench coat. All right, guys. It's time for us to wrap it up.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, we got it. We talked about it. We're looking forward to the finale of Ms. Marvel coming out on Tuesday. I will be talking about the boys finale on this Tuesday on the Dan Wickline Show. I will also be talking about Ms. Marvel on Thursday. And I will probably talk about more Only Murders in the Building on Wednesday. And maybe talk a little bit about the character in the cameo or the character at the end of Thor. At least give a little background on if you want to know more about him.
Yeah.
So that's the Dan Wickline Show. Jim and I will be back next week to talk about the final of Ms. Marvel. And hopefully I'll have Doctor Strange watched by then and maybe Thor. And we'll talk a little bit about them and then we'll continue on forward. So
Good.
Yes, I'm going to get to see those. So thank you all for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.